Hi, welcome back to the Mother You Know, the Woman You Don't. I hope y'all are having a fantastic week. I hope you had a great Easter. I know we had like a semi-quiet Easter. We appreciate you guys coming back, and we appreciate everything you're doing to support our little show, whether you're listening every week, sharing the episodes, liking social media, whatever it is you're doing to support our little podcast. We appreciate you guys. We have a topic this week to talk about. We've been kicking it around. But I told them right before we started that I cannot, and I try not to be a woman that gripes and complains. I can't do the astronaut thing. I can't let it go. Like, I feel like I need to say my piece. Usually can keep my mouth shut. It has bothered me all week long. All week long.
We've talked about it multiple times.
I can't do it. I cannot support it. I can't get behind it. I can't.
We're a couple of days
You know what I
late to
miss?
like the trending party. However,
I don't care. I
we're
don't care. I
gonna
have to get it out.
get it out, Sissy.
You know what the most important thing? The
Yeah.
whole thing is the tone deaf. It is the tone deafness of their message that you cannot clearly see that you're tone deaf. That the world is not in, we're not, I mean, it's great. I wish you just advertise it as, hey, we got a lot of money, we're taking a space ride. Like, I could get behind it. You'd be like, oh, that's kind of cool. They're going up there, float around. Look at them. Look at Amazon providing thrill rides. Great. I'm a fan of Jeff Bezos. I'm a fan of Amazon. I live off of them. Okay. The whole I'm an astronaut thing, the whole I'm a victim now that I've been up there and you can't call me an astronaut. I can't do it. I'm sorry. Can't do it. Can't do it. So we can cut all this, but I just had to get it off my chest. Just
So is it because
was the
they
most
went
tone
up
deaf.
and they feel like they can be called astronauts now?
Calling themselves
Okay.
astronauts because they went on a roller coaster ride for 10 minutes and then came back down. They didn't touch a button. They didn't navigate anything. They didn't do any experiments. They didn't
Well, they said there were
bring
two people
anything
on there
back.
that did
There were two
experiment.
scientists on there, yes. But you had 10 minutes. I have thoughts on this too now. I'm getting all riled up. I'm getting my second wind. I couldn't tell you the name of the scientists who were up there because they put so much focus on the singer and the fiance and then whatever the hell Gail King does. Is she a journalist? I don't even know what she
She's
does.
a
Yeah, she's a journalist now.
she's a
Okay, so
I
she's a
don't know, she's the
journalist.
morning talk show hostess. She's
I have no idea. That's fine. I have a
something.
job during that time. I'm not watching her.
Yeah.
The
I'm just
fact
saying, I don't
that
want to
I
degrade
couldn't
who
tell
they
you.
are.
No. And what they do for a living, because I couldn't do any of it. More power to you. I couldn't be Jeff Bezos' fiance because I'm sure there's a lot of prep work that goes into that, and I'm not putting on makeup every day. It's the fact that I couldn't name the other two ladies who were in there that were two or three, whoever they were, and all the focus is on the singer, the journalist, and the fiance, and that's what the focus on, and that they're astronauts somehow, and that somehow that stuff is supposed to be so inspiring to women, and it cost all of this money. And I think we had talked about this, Dorcas, that they could have taken that money and done scholarships for young women to go into STEM, and that would have
Yeah,
been way more
to support
inspiring.
STEM. Yeah.
100%. So that's that kind of thing where I'm just like, yeah, it's cool. Good for you. If I had however much millions of dollars, I would not spend it on that. But that's when you have FU money, you can do stuff like that. Everyday people, we
It's
don't have
not
that kind
about
of
the
money.
money, and it's not
Yeah.
about that they did it. I think it's great. If you have the money, go do it. I'm not
Yes.
opposed to
More power
people
to
who
you.
have things.
Just
Do
don't
your life.
actually call yourself an actual astronaut. I would think actual astronauts would be just beyond themselves. That
Yeah. I immediately,
that they actually qualify for astronaut, and someone
Yeah.
else come along that says that's like me being like I'm a doctor because I put a band-aid on y'all when y'all was little.
Yeah.
You know,
Or I played,
something like
that
that.
has been
So
okay. I will say that has been the one
that's
part that
been a
gave me
theme.
life this week is the memes and the comment sections. Like somebody started in on one and it was like, well, I played Operation once, so I must be a doctor. I've caught a football. I caught a football today, so I must be in the NFL. And that gave me life this week.
Me too.
That felt like realistic because it just was the most tone deaf thing I've ever heard.
Yeah. Her floating around up there with a flower. And it's just, we're so
I
connected.
just,
And you're just like,
I just
girl,
don't
sing.
get it. But I
I don't
think
get it
that's
either.
just the thing of Hollywood too, is that it's so over. I think people are just over it altogether,
Do you
just
think
over people telling people how to live. And,
Yeah.
for
Well,
Gail to
they
go,
take
have you been to space?
themselves,
Well,
yeah,
no.
they take themselves so seriously. People that I expect to take themselves seriously are doctors, are scientists, are these people take themselves so seriously. And I'm not trying to bash people who are actors, because I think we need entertainment. We need those things. We need it for just our piece of whatever. Do we really? But no, but I'm going to give them benefit of the doubt because we need people like Denzel, like Morgan Freeman. We need those people, but most people we don't need. But they take themselves so seriously. And so whenever they do that, it's hard to take them seriously because I'm like, you're not changing the world. You're not curing cancer. You're not finding great discoveries that are going to help mankind for hundreds of thousands of years to come. You're entertaining, and people with 10-minute attention spans are going to listen to your music and then move on to something else, or they're going to watch your movie, but you're not changing the world. And so when you act like you are, it's really hard to support that. And then,
Yeah, it's hard for me to get on board with this
yeah,
messaging as a woman.
yeah,
And I
because I
just
don't
don't
even
want to.
know what it is. Yeah, it's just,
Yeah,
they're nuts.
women should unite. Yeah, women are working together every single day. I work with tremendous women every single day. I don't need you, who just spent a gazillion dollars to float around with a butterfly, to tell me that I should be connecting with women.
It was like a Daisy or
And
something.
I should be mad because Wendy's tweeted the tweet of the year, and you're offended.
God, get over it.
She said,
People have
they
said
said
way
like
worse
she's
about you.
suing. I know, but
Yeah,
she
she
said
said
that she's suing. And I was
she's
like,
going to sue Wendy's
please,
for a mean tweet.
please take them to court for a mean tweet, because
Yeah.
Wendy's, whoever does Wendy's social media, I hope rocks them the entire trial.
They're so funny. They're hilarious. They've got a
You
great.
mean Wendy's, the hamburger place?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Wendy's
They
social
tweeted
media is
I'm behind here.
okay. Well,
So I
whoever
didn't
runs
follow any of
Wendy's
that.
social media is just hilarious. Like, they just are on point with
They
everything,
will
and they
hurt
talk
everybody's
about
feelings and they don't care.
everybody. They don't care, and it's just the funniest. And
It's
most people
amazing.
they get it. It's funny. She got mad and threatened to
They're like,
sue,
can
I
we
think,
send
is
her
what.
back? Yeah, like she didn't like that's what they're saying. I don't know whether the reports are true or not, but it was online that like they were like, can we send her back? And like to Katy Perry and like they're well, I said it could be wrong. It could just be stuff on social. There was
Yeah,
reports that she
maybe,
was going
but
to sue them, like for what, being mean? Like
please.
it's like the thing. It's
Wendy's has
like
a mean
Katy
tweet.
Perry's made some questionable decisions in her career. She has, whether they're fashion choices or her personal things that have come out. People have said a lot more mean things about her than that. And this is the hill you want to die on, a burger joint.
Well, yeah, it's because she feels so elite by this whole thing that it's
Yeah,
that she really, I think she really believes she's making a difference in the day-to-day lives of the
and that's what's
common folk.
sad. Yeah,
Yeah, but that's
and
what I
that's
mean.
really
That's why I
sad
think
because
it
like
hurt.
when you look at like her story from like because she was raised a Christian. She was raised in the church. She used to do Christian music, and she wasn't making it. My understanding, I could be wrong. And again, don't sue me if I'm saying the wrong thing. But she ended up going to the pop world, and she's made some comments before. And there have been things talking about how like she essentially sold her soul to get rich and famous. And she's made kind of comments here and there, like in interviews and things, like kind of jokingly about that. But it makes me feel bad for her, like as a Christian, it feels feel bad for her when you see stuff like this, because like where is the fruits of the spirit, those things, the discernments that come with that? They're just kind of like, and maybe they're there. It's not my place to judge her relationship with God or her walk or whatever, but like I said, she's made some really bad public choices, and this is what you're gonna be upset about.
Yeah, it feels like this is not the thing to be upset. But like I said, I think I think there's a belief there, like a core belief that this was. I think the
Unite
intention
women.
was probably good, but I mean, it was. I,
It
I
was
think
so
I heard
tone
somebody
deaf.
say this morning that she went up there and it basically announced her new tour. So if this was a publicity thing, why not say it's a publicity thing? Why try to mask it as a message for uniting women? I don't know.
Yeah.
I just didn't get it. It has been a thorn in my side all week long. I
Yeah.
have not been able to let it go.
Today, I don't know if what would me do it today, but I was looking for something to listen to early this morning, and I turned on the Challenger documentary. I've seen it before. It's kind of like a comfort show because I'm a huge fan of NASA and space travel, and I think that we're meant to be explorers. And Dorcas, you and I talked about this the other day at Easter. One of the things that I always loved and respected about Krista McCullough is that when you look at the interviews from her in that year getting ready to go up before the explosion, she always gave credit to the astronauts. She was like, I'm just a space participant. These guys have studied, they've trained, they've done all that stuff. She was kind of coming in at that last year and getting a shotgun or, whatever you want to call it, a crash course, unfortunately, in space travel. And she never goes, I'm an astronaut, I'm an astronaut, I'm an astronaut. She knew she had the piece of, or the self-awareness to realize that she was just a participant in this. She was just along for the ride. And these guys were the ones who were up there doing their thing. And you had what was the other woman's name? Oh crap, because I looked her up today just because I was in my dumbness, I'm like, "Oh, I wonder what she's doing now." But then it occurred to me she's no longer with us, unfortunately. But she was the
Yeah.
one who was like the mechanical engineer, and I was looking at her, and then you start thinking about all the other amazing women like Sally Ride, who was the first US woman in space, and how hard she worked to get there on her own merits. And she wasn't trying to, out any kind of, you know, feminine nonsense. And the same thing with that other woman. Like I said, it's gonna drive me nuts now. I gotta look her name up because her name deserves to be said. But when you look at like their what they did, she did not do anything even coming close to that, and
Yeah, and it's the thing is like, especially with like Kristen McAuliffe and anybody else, they actually gave their whole entire life, the whole living, breathing self to do this because they believed in something. And
yes.
to say that it just feels ick. The whole thing just feels ick.
Her name was Judith Resnick, and she was an
Resnick, yeah.
electrical engineer. Yeah, Resnick, and like so she worked. And like in that documentary talks about how like when they would try to give her like pink satin sheets in like her dorm room and stuff, she'd get really offended because she got where she was on her own merits. And she worked hard and did all that. It had nothing to do with being a woman. She held her own. And for these women to go up there and act like I'm a woman and I did this, that makes it special. No, it has nothing to do with the fact that you have a hoo-ha. It has nothing to do with the fact that you're a woman.
You didn't
It's
fight anything to get there. Who did you
yeah,
fight to get there?
you didn't. You had money and more power to you. I wish I had money like that.
Let's
That would
just
be
say what it is.
lovely. Yeah.
Sure, if I could afford it, maybe I'd go. Probably not,
Yeah.
but I feel like I
Well,
would give that money to the, you know, there's a girls thing here in Texas that focuses on STEM
yeah.
research. I mean, for girls in,
Yeah.
in middle school and high school. And
We do that.
why wouldn't
Yeah.
you put the money there? Like, why wouldn't you put the money there?
Because it
And,
doesn't make
for
me
little
look
girls
good.
who are going to have to fight, they're going to have to fight to go to college. They're going to have to fight to get places in clubs and get jobs. And they're going to have to, it was too much. It was too much.
It
And it's
was too
been in my
much.
crawl all
And
week
then
long, y'all. I'm sorry.
And then, of course,
Sorry. I had to bring it
to
up.
give them more credibility, they had to make those sexy outfits. When have you ever seen an
Right?
astronaut going into space not looking like astronaut Barbie and a pinup girl? Like they
Yeah.
all look frumpy because it's not about these tight fitting clothes and all this kind of stuff. It's about just having something to protect you while you're going out of the Earth's atmosphere. But they come in these skin tight things that it was just like, could you imagine like let's see, because like Massanino was
But
our
it's
keynote speaker at conference, and you're like, could you imagine him in an outfit like that? Like it's just like it would never. Or Sally Ride. Let's put Sally
yeah.
Ride. Bless her heart, she's no
And the
longer
whole thing is
with us. She
like,
died, but
isn't that like the anti-feminist movement? Because let me just say, I'm the furthest thing from a feminist. Okay. I have so many beliefs about things, and I
I like
think
my
women should
bras.
be
They're
treated
expensive.
equally. I think should be treated fair. We should be paid fair. We should work fair, yes. But like, I don't understand this feminism thing. I don't understand where they are because they're not here protecting female athletes. They're not here protecting, the image of women who are working hard. If we're out there supporting these, I don't know. I don't know.
Well,
It's just been a crawl
Daddy and
thing.
I have, yeah, there's a series by Tom Hanks, and it's called From the Earth to the Moon, and it's a really really detailed documentary and all. But they were talking about even when Shepard went up for the first time, and he did exactly what these women did. I mean, he went further than they did. But even his fellow astronauts were saying, well, monkeys did what you did, So what do you, you know what I mean? There were monkeys that did that, in the first,
I heard the monkey
so,
thing, Mama. See that? My point. That you sent these chicks up there
that's
to
the
do the same exact
point.
thing you could have sent
So,
monkeys up there to do, and you want
monkeys
respect.
did that. Yes. And they were even saying that about Shepard. It was the funniest thing. And his
I'll
fellow
tweet that
astronauts, they were
tonight. A week
joking. Were
late.
always so. Anyway, it was. That's funny. If they could say that about Shepard, then good
Yeah.
Lord,
Yeah, but you know what Shepard
Sorry,
didn't do?
Gail.
He didn't sue because his feet were hurt. Okay. That's the
Yeah.
last thing I'll
No,
say.
no. Actually, he went back up.
yeah.
Actual. He was
You
actual
mean he trained and then went
astronaut.
back
So
up? Oh, look at there.
yeah,
Okay.
for sure. So,
And I said that to
but
say, especially about
sorry.
choices. Like, she's talking about making choices or, making the choice to go up there and making the choice to present it like this and making the choice to come on TV and making the choice to flop off and kiss the ground and all that. You can't be mad at consequences. You really cannot be mad. I
You
don't
have
understand what
prisoners of
people don't
war
understand.
who don't even kiss the ground when they land, and she's out there.
That freaking woman that was up there for 9 months.
She came down. She's like, "I'm good. I'm good. Let's get a burger and move on." And yeah, oh my god.
See? That's in your crawl.
It is my crawl thing. So I'm gonna be sitting there all night.
It
I said,
is
I'm gonna go
now.
buy it. I had it in the Sally Ride book in my Amazon thing. I'm just gonna go ahead and buy it. Thank you, Jeff Bezos, buying the freaking
Okay.
Sally Ride book.
So now I understand the post you made earlier, Dorcas, that said this is an astronaut.
Yes, there were two
isn't
of
that
them
what you
popped
did?
up on
Yes.
TikTok. Yeah, there was
Yes.
one that showed
Okay.
all the female astronauts. I reposted that. And I don't repost a ton of stuff, but I was like, and then there was another one with somebody else. I can't even remember, but
Yeah.
I could share it
Yeah.
55 times I would. Just because it says, please make sure your daughters know the difference between this and this was one of them. Which, listen. Okay. But I said that to say, we were supposed to talk about choices.
Great segue.
Choices and change. Yes.
Change.
The
Change.
things
So
that
you're making the
change.
choice to
Yeah.
change. But
Yes.
thinking, so just for the record, there are consequences to every choice. And there's
Yes.
ramifications to every choice and change.
But it's not the fact that they chose to do that. That's great. If I had the money, that
That's
would
what I
be
said.
great.
Great.
That would be fun to do. But don't frame it in the
Like
frame
earth-shattering.
of being heroes or astronauts. Don't even go there.
Yeah.
So they
Don't
have
touch
their
it.
share
Don't
of
think about
heroes.
touching
That
it.
was
Don't think about
don't-
thinking about touching it.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, the female thing aside, like I said, Mr. Mamino, the one who was on The Big Bang Theory,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever,
Yep.
what's the name of Howard went to space. He was our keynote speaker at conference the other like a couple weeks ago, and so we got to hear him speak, and he was so funny. You know, he said he's an astronaut. He was in space multiple times, and he was talking about. And I'm just going to tell the story because it's just funny at this point. He was talking about how before he got to go up, he got to meet Neil Armstrong. I think it was Neil Armstrong. He got to meet one of them. I can't remember which one. Or I think it was Neil Armstrong. He got to meet him when he was in training before he passed away, obviously. And then when he was up in space doing his first spacewalk, something happened and he made a mistake. And it was a big mistake. And they had to fix it. And he's out in space doing his stuff. And he said his first thought was, Neil Armstrong's never going to talk to me again. And I was like, I want to use that. Like, I don't know where I'm going to use that, but one day I'm going to bust out and be like, Neil Armstrong is never going to talk to me again. Because it's his hero.
we
Like,
say
he was a
that we
kid
have to live
watching him
again.
walk on the
That's weird.
moon.
Yeah.
Yes.
I hope he rolls
So
over to
that
the
is
grave
an
and is like,
astronaut.
oh, God. Anyway.
So yeah, Neil Armstrong. Anyways, that's an astronaut.
Okay.
I got to hear him
Sorry,
speak, and
20
that
minutes
was
of that. I'm
inspiring.
done with it. We won't bring it up
Yeah.
again. We'll let it go unless they do something. What?
Oh yeah, I was like, let's move on.
Yeah.
Just tell me that. Yeah,
I won't bring it up again unless they say something on something I see.
Yes,
Bring it
we'll
up
have a
again.
standing segment for they're not real astronauts on every episode. In the 27th episode, part 27, they're not real astronauts.
I can't.
Bless
So
their hearts.
anyway.
We're just gonna pray for them.
Well, I hope you
Yes.
had a good time.
Yes, I
Come
hope you had a
down.
good time.
Just-
I hope it was great.
Like
Just-
28 million, you better have a good time.
Yeah. Just what? Keep it in
Okay.
perspective.
Letting it go. Here we go. Letting it go. Talking about
Not much.
change because we were
Change.
talking about how all of us seem to be going through big changes in our life and seasons of change, and it happened all of a sudden, or maybe not all of a sudden, but it seemed like things started shifting. You know, I know for us, and then I know Mom, you and Dad had talked about, you know, what season of change y'all are in, and then the same thing with Lolly. It just seems to be all big change. And I guess, Mom, do you want to just talk a little bit about what you guys have been thinking about and going through? And
Well, it's just a decision. It's a very hard decision for us. And when we chose to go back into the ministry and pastor a church, it was, you know, I told Daniel, I said, 2 years, baby. We'll give it 2 years. Well, Sunday we celebrated our 9th anniversary. Okay. So it's just hard to make that decision and step out of that role. And also, and like we told the people we love, it's on the table. That's what it is. It's on the table now because it was a subject that we would talk about, but we are talking about it now.
They didn't believe you.
And,
He's been saying it for years.
No,
and they're just like, no.
and it's
Just turn a blind ear. They're like, no, we don't hear it. We don't hear it. We don't hear it.
well, our people around us are, you know, between 50 and 90. And so when you get that place, you don't do change very well at all. So it's just you just have to choose to let it change. Just let it go, let it change and go with it. And then planning for it, is a whole nother ball game when you start thinking, well, what would we do with ourselves if we're not so busy doing what we're doing? So it's a hard decision, I think,
Yeah.
and all, but you have to be able to open up your mind and realize there's other things out there. You can do it, even just this podcast. And Dad, he does his morning devotion online. So when he's got people from Zambia that listen to him, and so this particular platform is great for him, where he can teach and preach and whatever he wants to do. So it just opens up a whole new world for him too. So that's exciting to think about. Uh, I think for
So if y'all decide to go through it and you do, let's say you retire from the church again, what is it that y'all want to do next? Because I know you don't just want to sit.
No, we don't want to sit. And something else that we were talking about was the change that comes with your health and your physical at our age. And so I think we have to get focused on that and make that our priority. And just learning how to, my God, just learning how to cook right nowadays for us, because we really got into the habit of just eating out and eating whatever. Because it's almost cheaper to eat out than to go to the grocery store and come home and cook and all that. But that's just something that's just got to happen. It's just got to happen. So making those choices to change there for us at our age. Uh, and that can be adventuresome. That can be a whole new world too. Just learn to get in a better place health wise, physically.
What do you think has been the
I don't
hardest
want,
part about deciding to retire? What's been the
well,
hitch
you
in
just
your
get
giddy up? Because y'all been talking about it for a while.
for a long time. Yeah.
5 years.
Well, because it's not only a change for us, but it's a change for a lot of people. It's a big change for a lot of people. And people that we love have to get used to someone else being at the lead, you know. And so it's change for other people too. And we just have to learn to take our hands off and let people make those decisions. And for Daddy and I both, we've been in places, positions of leadership where we make the decisions. We call the shots, we make the decisions. And when you want to make that change, you have to turn the reins over to someone else. I think that's probably one of the hard things to do is
Yeah. So is it more
letting someone.
y'all not letting go or people not letting y'all go? Which is it
I
more,
think it's a,
honestly?
I think it's a I think it's a combination, really.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
it's a 50
I
50.
think it's a combination. Yeah, probably a 50-50 split. So, and we're not going anywhere. People have asked, where y'all moving or what? No, we're not moving. Are you going to stay at the church? Probably not. No, you don't.
Yeah.
With someone else, you can't. It's just change. People changing, and even in the last 9 years, a lot of things have changed. A lot of people have changed, come and gone, and so many have passed away, and the whole dynamic of the church is different than it was when we first got there. And our physical abilities to stay really busy on things and also.
So, one of the things that I've been thinking about lately is listening for God to tell me, what He wants me to do or direct that change. So, what are some of the things that you're seeing that tells you it's time now? Or what are the signs or do you hear signs or do you just hear God go, time to dip?
I think it's the physical ability right now for staying in that position of leadership and asking God to send somebody in our mind, because what happened with us is that we were there for 2 years before BT, our pastor, died. And like I told you the other day, they had a business meeting in the parking lot of the hospital and voted, and all. So and Dad just stepped right into that role. Well, I don't think we can expect that again. That was just
Yeah.
way too
Well,
easy.
you don't want to expect till he dies to have somebody
Yeah.
do it.
No, no.
Like to head that
But
off. That's sign off from the past.
yeah, but I don't want to wait till that happens.
Yeah.
That's what I'm avoiding. That's what we're trying to avoid, because there's things that he needs to do and we need to do. And, just because he don't fish, he don't golf, he don't, so there's never had a hobby or anything like that. Of course, the motorcycle was there for a while, but that season's over, believe me. So what's the next right thing for us? It's just because we want to stay present until it's time to not stay present. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we don't want to we don't check out before it's time to check out, but it's on the table, you know. Uh, and the podcast that we were listening to about new beginnings and to end well and
Did you
all
listen to
that,
the
that
end well
was,
one? That was good.
yeah, I got halfway through it, but it was pretty powerful in that. And he kept talking about Moses striking the rock twice when God told him what to do. And in his agitation, he hit it twice. Now the water still sprang out, but Moses didn't get to go in the promised land because he was disobeyed. So that's the I think that's the place of really praying through things, because we don't want to be disobedient, but we don't check out till it's time to check out.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think
but it's
that's what I pulled from that is like feeling the need because we always told our kids that um if what is it immediate or if you don't immediately obey, it's disobedience.
yeah,
So if we tell you to do
yeah,
something, you go, hold on a minute. That's immediate disobedience. And I feel like that's probably something I've either not listened or searched for God's voice before and
yes,
not listened for, maybe until more recently in the last 2 or 3 years. And I don't want to be disobedient. I feel like that's worse
right, yeah,
than not seeking at all. Like to not seek, you can at least play dumb. But I feel like if you are at least seeking and you hear, but you're like, no, not doing that.
yeah, yeah, and even being willing to have a Bible study going at any given time, uh, because God speaks to us through His Word. He literally speaks to us through His Word, and you want to know what God's thinking. Well, He done wrote you a letter about it, so you get into that, uh, and that helps you get focused and know which direction to go. So that's what we're trying to do, literally, So it's knowing how to rest in His peace while you're getting about doing your business.
Yeah.
Does that make sense at all?
Yeah.
So yeah,
Well, I know that,
change.
like,
So change is coming. It's
yeah,
coming no matter what. And even is it Isaiah 43 that says God's going to do a new thing? It's coming, and it can come quickly at times too. So uh, you just got to wait on the Lord, because new things are coming and
yeah.
things are changing. And I think we've said it enough where people are realizing that, yeah, we're going to make a decision about some things. There will be a time to retire, and it'll be this year, probably
2025
before.
this year or 2025, 2026 this year?
I know, maybe.
April 2026 year?
No, I think it'll be 2025, but it's not an easy decision, and it's not going to be fun. I told someone the other day it was the leaving that was excruciating for me. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
Excruciating for me in the past. I didn't want to do it because I knew there would be a time when you're leaving again and your friend, people you love, all that. So, but
Well, I
I
yeah,
think
told
too, because we're
Daddy,
relational people. So we like
yes,
relationships. We or value relationships. I think our personalities all value relationships and people and, not crowds, but one
yeah,
on one,
yeah.
small
Well,
groups.
Well, for me, I can look back and see just so many people that I just loved and were close to and friends to. And now they went on about their business and we went on about our business, and we haven't been in touch with. That's the possibility that you'll lose touch with people that you
Yeah.
love and adore and want to be with. And you have to really make an effort to keep that relationship going too. But there's that few people that you can hang on to, but people just move on and do other things. You get busy about with their
Yeah.
family, and some of our friends just had their first grandbabies. I'm thinking, oh, they gone, or their first great grandbabies, they gone.
Yeah.
So that retiring again and moving.
I told Daddy, like this was several months ago when he was talking about deciding to, retire or whatever. And I said, this is my opinion, but if you feel like God is telling you to retire, you have to trust that He's going to fill that gap.
And that's
And
true.
so that's
Yes.
not it may not necessarily be y'all's job to do that and to worry about it. Not even to worry about that, because I think you're going to worry about it. But you have to trust that if God's going, okay, it's time for you to step away, that He's got it, that He's going to do that. And there may not be an overlap. You have to accept the possibility that there may be a gap in there, that maybe you just don't know what that's going to be. Maybe somebody, just stumbles into the church because they have a flat tire. Oh my God, I've been looking for a place to pastor. Somebody gets called up from from
I
the
gotta work.
flock. You just don't know. You
Yeah,
don't know. But
you
it may
don't
not
know.
be God's dad. It may not. It may be, but it may not be Dad's responsibility to do that. Maybe it's an opportunity for the people at the church to step up and do that. But you can't say God's calling us to leave and then sit here and
But
stress about the
you
thing.
always want to leaving things in a better
Yes, you
shape
do.
than you
When you
found it,
left, yes,
and make sure
100%.
that there are people there that can carry on
Yeah,
without you.
but you have to trust that
So that's what you.
God's gonna find a new shepherd, however He's gonna find it,
Yeah,
and pull that in.
yeah,
So you can't.
Yeah, because that's
I don't know,
faith,
like if
right? Like you
yeah,
don't trusting that. I
yeah.
guess
That's
there's
faith, baby.
probably a very fine line
Yeah,
between discernment of what God's saying to you and faith that He's going to do what He's
he's going to
supposed
do
to
what he's going to
do.
do. Yeah.
But it's a fine. I'm sure it's a fine line
Yes,
in there
it is a fine line. Yes,
that you've got to
and
dance
so
around.
yes, but you want to leave in peace.
Yeah, and you
You
don't
want to leave in
feel
peace, and then I don't feel at
what would
peace
make
yet.
you feel at peace.
I don't know, someone come up and that perfect person, I guess. I don't know. We hadn't even put any feelers out, and
Okay.
all, or we do have a committee, a
maybe you can
pastor
put some
search
feelers out.
committee, but it's hadn't quite pulled the trigger on
It's
that.
like that joke that's like, God, please let me win the lottery, and God's like, buy a ticket.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
that would
Like, you haven't put any
that would
feelers
be
out.
against his nature.
No, but that's
Yes,
the thing is that like
yeah,
you haven't gotten any takers. Like, well, have you? You haven't bought the ticket yet. I was gonna let you win the
yes.
lottery. Let you buy the ticket. Somebody's got to win it.
That's what I'm asking. Like, what would give you peace? What would be the peace in that decision making?
I
That
think to know that there's somebody in place. I think
yeah,
that may not be the way it's going to happen, but that's just the way you feel like when I turn it loose, it's taken care of. So, but we don't know. We just don't know. Yeah. But like I said, it's on the table. This
well,
subject's
that's one
been
step
talked
further.
about and it's on the table. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And people are recognizing that and going, "Okay, we better pray about something here and ask God to lead out." So I think so. And it was a good anniversary and it was lovely and we had our meal and all that. So we left on Sunday knowing that it's it was a good it was a good day. It was a good celebration, and that the next right step is see what the next right step is. I guess.
Yeah. Well, I think that's what I've been struggling with and thinking about is like, what's the next? How do you know when it's time to make a choice, when it's time to move? And I think, especially with what I've been dealing with, and we'll probably talk around it a little bit just to avoid some of the specifics. But, the hardest thing for me, like, has been the work, working outside the home and spent so many years at home and felt like they were supposed to be. And then you go to work and you have a really great, my first job out was really, really great. Loved where I was. And then that sold and it became something else that wasn't quite as great. It was a different leadership and different things, and stayed there because they had a really great team. I always feel like I stayed too long. Like I don't, but I also don't know that I was seeking God during that time. I was just mad about being somewhere I didn't really want to be. But the same thing, like you said, Lydia, I didn't buy the ticket. Never once filled out a resume. Never once put it out. I was just mad that it wasn't the way I wanted it to be, or whatever. And I think it was in the last, I don't know, year and a half that I was there that it was kind of like, okay, I really felt God saying, you need to calm down. Like you need to just focus on your job, focus on being a good person, focus on your relationships with the people you're working with. And I think it was when I finally made the decision to do that, it was like, oh God, this last year and a half was great. And then out of nowhere, an offer friend of mine had reached out and was like, hey, what do you think about doing this? And it was a really fantastic opportunity, which is where I am now. And I really thought I'd be here for the long haul. And then in January, a friend of mine reached out, went through what is now a 3-month interview process. And the whole time has been, it's been so up and down. And I keep, when it first happened, both of y'all know because I was a complete freak show one night at like 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
Found out what it was, found out who it was, and I completely waved out like a complete psycho. You were dealing with a house fire, literal house fire across the street, and I was freaking out.
Yes.
It was 11 o'clock at night, and I was having a complete psychosis meltdown, and really spent the next couple of weeks going, God, I don't want to do this. I'm not going to do this. I'm not moving. So sure, I'll talk to him, but I'm not going. So shut it down, shut it down, shut it down. And I kept telling God to shut it down because I'm happy where I'm at. I don't want to move. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to, I buried my feet in and really did. And then, at some point didn't get the job, but then something else came up at the same company. And at some point I started going, wait, God, this is really great. I think I want to do this. Because the position changed a little bit and it was working with some different people and just the opportunity became really, really appealing out of nowhere, which is so scary. And I have said it time and time again, I have a good job, God. You gave me everything I needed with this job. I'm content. I'm content to be here. I like my management team. I like the people I work with. The money's fine. It's great. Why do we need to move? So I've really struggled with, I don't know if the word is struggle, but it's batted around a lot and spent a lot of time really processing, even through to today, because this week is my last week at this job and I start the new job on Monday. But I spent a lot of time, like, God, why was I even here then? Why would you even put me here for a year and a half? Why not just stay where I was? And I got to thinking today, it dawned on me this morning that sometimes I think we're in a place for a season, of course, whether it be
Yes,
9
truly.
years or a year and a half, or 18, I think it was 19 months. I figured out I've been here. And I'm not a job hopper. That's the other thing is I usually stay places 5 years minimum. And I really was asking God this morning, like, what is the point? What was the point of being here? If you're going to just take it away, because I'm so content, why would you take that away? Why would you rustle things up? Why would you swish it up right now? And I think I realized today that this place was supposed to be a place of contentment and of peace, which I didn't have in my other two jobs because they were just chaos. And it feels like this place the last 19 months has been a place of peace where you can talk to people and build relationships and learn new skills. I've learned so many new skills because my new boss would just go, hey, can you figure this out? And I'm like, sure, because I have time, because I'm not, they hired me to do a certain job, but it was all contingent on what the business part of it. So if they got some deals done in the last 18 months, we'd be growing, we'd be buying a new office, we'd be doing all these things. So I'd be doing what they hired me to do, which is HR and to manage the office remodel and moving us, but I haven't done that. And I couldn't figure out why you bring me here, God, if you don't want me to do my job, what I'm supposed to do. And I really do think it was because it was supposed to be a place of peace for the last 19 months. I wish I'd done better at recognizing it from the beginning, but it has been a place where it's been more relational. I got to have a really good relationship with my CEO, which I think is phenomenal because I've had the honor of sitting in the office with him, which not many people get to sit in an office. We have such a tiny office, and I sit in the office of my CEO, and he's a former military guy, older guy, bought and sold companies all over, really experienced. And I've spent the last 18 months, or probably, I don't know, 12, 13, 14 months in his office with him. So I've gotten to listen to him talk all day. I've got to listen to him talk, about how he manages a company, the things that worry him, the things that he's happy about, all the things that you don't usually get to hear in a position. And it's like, I've just spent at least a year in the office with him talking about politics. We've talked about life. We've talked about all kinds of things. And it finally, dawned on me, it's like, oh, you were meant to be here because there's so many lessons I learned from him. Just from him alone, not even talking about everybody on the staff. We have another guy who's a great partner, and the executive team is fantastic. But just the lessons I've got to learn from him, it's like, oh, God put me here not to do that job, not to do the office management, the HR, and all the stuff that usually drives me crazy. He put me here to have a place of peace and to sit for a minute. And now it's time to go. And I think it's been clear that I'm supposed to move. So I've asked, like I said, I asked God 100 times in the last 3 months, just shut this down. Like, I don't want to move. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do it. I don't want to. No.
I don't want to move.
Yeah.
I don't want that
I'm
change.
content.
Yeah.
Now, listen, I can go back downtown now and I don't have to be at the Galleria, which is fantastic. But I was also thinking today of all the really great stuff because my commute's an hour 15, hour 30, depending on traffic in the morning, because it's so far from where we live in the sticks. But how many good things have happened from me just being in the car by myself, thinking in the morning, the podcast. This all stemmed at 6 o'clock in the morning, when Lydia called and said, hey, let's do something. All of that happened in the morning. The best conversations I've had with friends have been in the afternoon or with mom or, on the phone during those times. So I think really just being grateful for the season for what it was and being honoring where we are and what we're learning in that moment.
Yes.
I think has been a good thing.
Yeah,
And
but I
really
think it's
hearing
the
God.
willingness to open your eyes and see that.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah.
Just recognizing it for what it is. And it's a season of learning and a season of him just showing himself to you and accepting it for that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I've really heard God clearly about this moving thing. And I was going to ask you about that because it seems to like, like you listen to these other podcasts and these pastors are talking about, I heard God's voice say blah, 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 blah. There's only been one time I think I've heard God say something like clearly,
Yeah.
audibly in my ear. I'll tell you what it was because it was such a tough conversation for me to have. It was about Dwayne's dad. Because when he lived with us, it was just such a hard season for all those years he lived with us. And it just caused a lot of misery in our marriage and a lot of misery in our family. And I was constantly mad at him for whatever. And even after he had he had got sick at some point and moved to a nursing home. And I was still angry about what it did. And I remember being in Annalisa's and I was laying in bed or reading something and I was like, God, it's just so annoying, blah, 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 blah. And I heard God say, I moved him. Stop. It's like, stop complaining. Stop talking about it. And I was like,
Yeah.
I feel like it was an audible thing.
Yes.
I'm being scolded by God. But that's literally the only time I've ever heard, because he was pissed at me, complaining, because that's my MO is I can hold a grudge.
He raised his voice.
Yeah, that's
yes,
what I
he
mean.
does.
Like
Yes, he does.
that was the only time I think I've ever heard God. So do you think that God talks to us through, like, especially now, like podcasts? Because I feel like between the Bible study that I started in January,
Yes.
and the podcast that we've been listening to that have hit just perfectly. We're talking about the leader's cut, the one where they were talking about the beginning and the ends. Those two couldn't have hit any more perfectly in my life.
Yeah, there were.
And that dang Bible study could not have hit. I mean, I've made notes in there where I was like, hey, big decisions today, because that's what this is like.
Yes.
I mean, end well, because that was what they talked about last week, was ending well. And, when you quit a job, you're thinking, I'm tapped out. I'm going to just coast through these next 2 weeks. And they were very explicit in that about, you need to do the right thing. You need to end strong. You need to be present. And I've just been like, I can't be doing other things on this time.
So do you feel
really audible?
Yeah. So do you feel at some point that you come to peace with those years with Dwayne's dad?
Yeah.
Do you feel like that you've seen the value of it and the compassion that you really was and all that? So when God says, okay,
the girl's dad and my former boss, I even feel at peace about those are the things that were kind of always just that grind in your life and stirred it up and felt ick, and now I feel at peace.
Yeah.
I do. I feel like I could look at any one of them and go, okay, I see what I see now. I guess it's hindsight, why I had to go through that. I see it differently. And I will say that's one of the lessons that my CEO and I talked about, because he talks about seeing things and understanding things from other people's perspectives, like just understanding their side of it, because people say and hear or go through the same thing and they experience it very differently. And just taking a minute to even just listen to what other people say, and looking at those experiences and go, well, I could see how that was hard for him and why that was hard, why he was so difficult. I can understand that. And that has brought a lot of peace. There's certain things I ain't doing again. I'm at peace. I ain't stupid. Okay? I ain't touching certain things with a 10-foot pole, but I will be at peace about it. Yes.
Yeah. But I think one of the things about the podcast, there's a verse in Revelations that talks about we overcome Satan by the power of people's testimony.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? That when people give their testimony and their story and all that. So I think that's one of the things that God used this year is to do this because it's powerful and that people can share what's on their heart, whether it's the good, the bad, the ugly, it don't matter.
Yeah.
If it's there, just spit it out that you overcome Satan by the power of your testimony. And so you look back at all the people that God's used on this podcast. So yeah, I look back too on that year and that's where you were in the car, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's essentially
where
it was. It was just wanting to hear other people's stories. And I think part of that too has been take the focus off me. Like me stop thinking about all the bad crap that's happened to me, and all the bad stuff that I've had to deal with.
Yes.
It takes that off when you start going, oh wait, I get to hear so-and-so's story. And I need to hear Victoria's story. I need to hear Shelby's story. I need to hear, all these, women that we've had on that it's like they've been through some stuff. You get to hear other people's story and we've heard a lot about what God has done. And it does make you, I think, look at your own things and go, again, not that bad. We've had to deal with stuff,
but even when you've gone through some things that's as bad as what they've gone through, other people, you think, okay, they survived it. I can survive it. I can overcome. I can look forward to the good of what's
yeah.
going on. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's pretty
And
powerful.
also put it all in perspective, because like even last week we had a hiccup that I thought was going to be, we had a hiccup with this job hiring thing that I thought was going to be really detrimental, and I was just about to lose it. I think the day it happened, I was like stunned into like fear. And I think I told you that I woke up in a spirit of
Yes.
fear.
Yes.
And the really great thing that happened with that is by the time I had got home, and even Dwayne had processed what we were dealing with, and we both were just like, I mean, it didn't take 24 hours, which was way better than I usually, because I like to hold on to that stuff for a long time. But it's about 24 before I even got home. It was 12 hours later, and he had already put it in his mind and gone, we're going to be fine. And I had put it in my mind, gone, we're going to be fine. It's going to be fine. And woke up the next day and it was like, oh, okay. It doesn't matter what happens. God's got us. He's always got us. And because I've asked him along the way, God, I don't want to do this. Don't, kill it now. I've asked him to kill it 100 times in the last 3 months. That I feel like you wouldn't have pulled me this far to kill it right here. You should have done it back there. Surely you would have done it back there. But we had the faith enough to, I don't know if I guess it is faith enough to believe that you've pulled us this far, you've got it. So whatever, even if it's going to end up like we think it's going to end up,
Yeah.
you've
The
got
worst
us
case
another
scenario.
solution.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've
Yeah.
got another solution, because you wouldn't have pulled it this far if you didn't want. You obviously want my eyes focused somewhere else if you don't want it here. You want my feet somewhere else if you don't want it here. So I guess that's what I was asking is, do you feel like that's how God works? Do you think it's like, if he didn't want us here, he would have moved it? Now, as a result of what happened last week, I've got a whole nother thing of things I need to do, so I also wonder if was him going, you need to take care of this, you need to take care of this, you need to do this,
Yes.
and in the words,
Absolutely, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that's what
Absolutely.
I was wondering. It's if it.
And sometimes we don't know. We don't know what God's doing or why it's turning out the way it is or why. We don't know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
can
And
we
that's what
still
I mean, is
say,
that it's
like,
walking through it,
yeah, and he'll get you to the other side.
Yeah. Whatever the thing, whatever the end is, I guess that's what I mean. It's the end game. It's
Yeah.
having faith
Yeah.
that God's got the end game no matter what. And I think that was what I was, not that we were proud, but I think, 24 hours later, he and I were like, hey, we did that pretty good. We navigated that one well. That was a minor meltdown. Didn't have we didn't fight about it. We didn't do whatever.
Yeah.
It was just like, oh, okay, we need to fix it and
Yeah.
move on. It was just like we were both able to, which is, impressive, because he and I both don't usually handle stuff well. Usually one of us is bat crap crazy. But yeah, so we were able to walk through that well, and it's turned out well. But like I said, there were some things that flagged that it was like, okay, we got to fix this now because this was brought to our attention.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well,
So it is.
and just like when Daddy lost his phone and we were trying to manage through that, because it would have been very easy to lose our minds and lash out at each other. And is after the fiasco with the phone, in Walmart, trying to find a phone, trying to get a phone, and the one thing I did tell him, I said, look, the one thing we got to do is be kind to each other. Just for me and him to be kind to each other, because we were both at that place of losing it. Crazy. And by the grace of God, just by the grace of God. And that's what I told him. We got to be kind to each other. And if we make it through this, still being kind, then okay. So, and God works in ways that we don't know.
Yeah.
He still is.
And I think it actually feels good to have walked through the last 3 months of this whole process, because I feel really good about the direction that we're heading, and even if it were to change tomorrow, I feel like I could feel good about it anyway, even if he was like, nope, just kidding, I want you to go this way, I feel good about being able to pick up and move on. So,
yeah. Well, I think we have to, and it's just to make a choice. You have to choose. It's a choice you make. And sometimes you just have to take that chance, because if you don't, your life won't change. So things won't change for you. So you have to choose, and you have to make that decision. that, I'm going to trust. I'm going to. I'm going to trust God. I'm going to trust Him. I'm going to put it in His hand and let Him deal with it. Because sometimes you come to the end of your resources and your plans and what you want to do, and what I'm trying to tell God what I expect Him to do so that we can exit and retire with everything in perfect place. And
Yeah.
it don't always happen that way.
Yeah.
So
What's the thing? It's like, how do you discern that? How do you discern where it's like, I mean, is he gonna have to just make dad like mute where he can't talk anymore for him to have to for y'all to retire?
no, I don't know.
We're not wishing for
But
that,
I
God.
think I will know it. We will know it when we see it. Okay.
Yeah,
That's
I
what I
guess
always
that's
say,
the thing.
because he'll say, "What are you shopping for?" I don't know, but I'll know it when I see it. It's kind
Yeah.
of like going thrifting, Lydia. What are you going thrifting for? I don't know, but I will know it when I see it. And you go to the thrift store and go, "That's what I come for," right there. So that's just the way it is sometimes. So he,
We just
and
thrifting
he's
our way
faithful
through
and true.
life.
Well, you are. Yeah. We're giving new life to whatever. So, yeah.
Well, we'll try to tag that podcast on. I keep promoting their podcast. I need to call them and have them promote ours because it's just so good.
Yes.
Those 2 or 3 episodes are just mind-blowingly good. Just talking about starting new things and ending new things. I think, Lydia, that's what also got me. I had a bipolar moment this morning and was texting Lydia all this stuff about like podcast networks. Like, I want to start a podcast network. We got all these ideas we need to do. Like, I just whammied her this morning. I told her, I go, it could be the coffee or it could be God. I don't know. I haven't heard yet. So we're going to see what happens.
I was like in meetings and it's just like ding, 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 ding. So
Yeah, I told her, I was like, could be coffee, could be God. I don't know. I just had too much caffeine today. But I have all these
I'll
questions.
get back with you shortly. Hold on.
Sorry. I
No,
apologize.
okay.
But
I
anyway.
wish I wasn't sharing my screen. All this murder stuff comes up
Yeah.
from murder podcasts.
So anyway. Okay. But I don't know. I think I just
But I
wanted
think,
to
I
chat
think you
about
got to
that
be
because it
ready
was
for
just so much.
adventure. Okay.
Yeah. And I think that's what I want is I think it's been like, it finally, what I think for me, the catalyst part was like, hey, I don't want to be stuck and I'm not stuck in that job. I don't want to say that because it's a great job. It was a fantastic job. It was everything you could have asked for in a job, but the new job sounds like fun. It sounds adventurous. And that's, I think what I'm most excited about is because I want to be different than what I've been the first 50 years, I think. I want to be different in the next 50.
Yeah.
Because y'all are going to have to go
But
with me
that's,
till I'm 100.
yeah. Daddy and I decided we're going to live to be 90, at least
Good.
90.
Good. Because it's going to take us a
So
while to get the ranch going.
I know. Yeah, for sure. But we'll be
Okay.
happy where we're at. We're going to stay plugged in where we're at. So when the time comes and we're ready to go, we're ready to stay. I think that's what you have to be willing to do. Be ready to go,
Okay.
ready to stay.
We're off to the next adventure. Okay. Well, folks, I appreciate y'all listening to our little rant, our little astronaut rant. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us again this week. I know it's a bit bipolar with the astronaut rant and the change rant and the whatever else we ranted about today. We try not to rant and bash people every week. I promise. It was necessary this week. So
Let's get down to stuff and
we appreciate y'all coming back every week. We appreciate everything you're doing to support us. Please follow us on wherever you get your podcast. You can like all of our social media. We're on everything. And we appreciate you guys. And we'll talk to you again next week.